BPod Studios.
Toucher, Hardy.
You get used to sitting back and letting Daddy drive the car.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy. And our show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Jim McBride covers the Bruins for the Boston Globe. We used to have him on talking about the Patriots. Now he's talking about the Bruins. He joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Mr. McBride, hello, sir.
Good morning, guys. Just hopped out of my Joe Rogan ice bath, and I feel good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're going to get so cut. That's all you got to do is you just got to get into the cold water, and for all your problems will be solved, my friend. That's the secret to life. That's why the Vikings lived forever. I mean, all the Norwegian people, they lived forever. All right. So the Bruins are in an interesting position. You read about the trade deadline. First of all, what do you make of this post-All-Star break lull they've been in? Does it concern you?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think that they've played better as of late, but the late game, losing leads late in the game is really coming back to haunt them, and I think that's more concerning than anything. The results in overtime don't bother me as much because once you get to the postseason, it's 5-on-5. It's not that fire wagon 3-on-3 business that they do during the regular season, but actually teams forcing them to overtime is what's concerning because guys are playing a lot more minutes.
So we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, how the Bruins last year were finding ways to win games. And even when they didn't play well, they were having some late-game bursts, or you'd get some heroics from Pasternak or Marchand. Is it a lack of those late-game heroics, do you think, Jim, that's factoring into some of these losses, especially the overtime and shootout losses? Is it something that's missing, spark-wise, or is it more personnel and something deeper than that?
Yeah, I think there's certainly a lack of that at times, but I think in the Stars game last week, you saw, Pasta score late, and then, they went 9 rounds in the shootout, and they ended up scoring. So they have a little bit of that, but I think it's just overuse of some of the personnel. Some of their top players like Marchand, like Coyle, Zaka, those guys are playing a lot on the penalty kill. I think you need to get some contributions from other guys in those areas so that when you are 5-on-5 or you're in power play, you get to use those guys and they're a little bit fresher. So I think maybe expanding the guys that are on the penalty kill, which was so effective earlier in this year and has kind of fallen off lately. And I think that's just because of wear and tear on some of your best players.
How much is the injury to Hampus Lindholm hurting this team? I know Grzelcyk was down for a while. They're playing guys that don't ordinarily play, and there have been some games where they've had to play 5 defensemen for basically 3 periods in overtime. How much is this bothering this team?
Yeah, it's very concerning because, the defensive core as a whole hasn't played like they did last year. I think, Grzelcyk and Forbort both haven't played up to last year's standards, and I think a lot of that's injury-related. But I think Hampus Lindholm's injury, it's really key because if he's out for a longer period of time, I think they make a big move at the trade deadline because they can use his money. If it's a shorter injury, then that's probably necessitates a lesser move at the deadline because of their, the cap situation. But, certainly when you take your number 2 defenseman, a guy that plays 23, 24 minutes a game out of the mix, that's going to hurt. So, I think his injury is kind of the key, kind of holds the key to the trade deadline for the Bruins.
Okay, I wanted to get to that because Noah Hannafin, defenseman, Boston ties. I'm being told he wants to be in Boston. Last year of his contract, the Bruins got what I believe you described in the Boston Globe as an assload of cap money going into next year. But $20 million in cap space with all the free agents. Grzelcyk, DeBrusk, Forbort, Shattenkirk, Lucic, Van Riemsdyk, Heinen, and the great Anthony Richard. But they have all this cap money. Could they deal for Hannafin? Could he force a deal to Boston because of his ties here? Is that something that could happen? And if so, how much would it improve this team?
Yeah, a ton, because he's the big fish out there, right? He's the guy that a lot of teams that are defensive needy are looking at. He probably could force his hand to Boston, much in the way Taylor Hall did a couple of years ago. I've heard rumors too that he really wants to play here. Fitting him under the cap for the rest of this year would be a little difficult. They need some help. Maybe Calgary, absorbs a little bit of the money or a third team. Signing him beyond that, that's probably not a problem because they, like you said, they have the assload of money to spend for next year.
Thank you, Jim, for going to Queen's English with me. Thank you. I'm glad to lead you in the gutter.
Exactly. So it's it could be a situation like Lindholm 2 years ago when they traded for him and then the next day they signed him to an extension. So if they could do something like that, I think it could work for them, absolutely. And I think, I have heard also that Noah would love to play back in Boston where he's from. So that's interesting to keep an eye on. Now, what would they give up for him to kind of get him, here? Maybe Calgary uses that to their advantage. Says, hey, we won't deal him anywhere else, but we want a little something extra from you. And the Bruins do not have a ton of capital to give up.
Would you trade Jake DeBrusk off this roster to get a deal like that done?
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, he's in kind of the same situation as Hannafin.
Yeah. Why would they want him?
Unrestricted guy too.
Yeah, they wouldn't want him. They would be doing the Bruins a favor by taking DeBrusk because they'd be taking the salary off their hands. But it would be.
They would almost even swap, and then you'd have to wonder why Calgary would want that.
Yeah, so you would be talking about a 2025 first-round pick, Patra. Do the Bruins have enough to even swing a trade like that? I mean, we've been talking about it. Do you think they have enough?
I think they have enough, but I think it would completely decimate their system if they did. If you're talking. Patra or Mason Lohrei or Fabian Lysell. If you're giving up two of those three, then you're really killing your farm system basically.
Yeah, they'd be blowing. Well, they've been doing that for years, so they'd be really blowing things up. And do you think it's worth taking the shot if you can keep Hannafin around for 8 years after this?
Yeah, absolutely. If he's a rental, no, I wouldn't give up a ton for him. But if you have that wink, like the next day after we trade for him, I'm going to sign him to this extension. I think it's definitely worth it because he's a proven commodity, 200-foot defenseman. So yeah, I think that would be a great play. Then you have in your stable McAvoy, Lindholm, and Hannafin. Those are three really good defensemen.
Yeah, it'd be fun to hear Felger lose his mind too because they'd be signing a local kid for reasons other than him being local. Felger hates that. It's like, oh, he's from here. And it's like, who cares? Well, it's Noah Hannafin, and you care. Well, the fact that he's from Norwood is just,
Well, that would be like saying I don't want football players from Florida or Texas. They're not growing them in Arizona generally.
Right.
Like if you're from North America, you're from Canada, Minnesota, Michigan, or Massachusetts.
What? Right.
Sign me up for any deal that drives Mike Felger crazy.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'll tell you, I think he's a grump.
And a bit of a contrarian.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I won't even get into the goalie talk with you at all because I still think they missed the boat by not moving Lena Solmark earlier. But after you wrote 50,000 words about goalie Bob over the weekend, I'm sure you wouldn't entertain any talk about these two guys not being here and intimately involved going forward. Is that really going to happen, do you think, Jim? They're going to rotate these guys throughout the rest of the season and more importantly in the postseason?
Yeah, every time we've broached that subject with Monty, he's kind of stuck to the plan that he's definitely open to that. It didn't work last year, but I think people forget that Linus went into those playoffs a little banged up because he got hurt late in the season. So if one of these guys emerges.
I'm sorry, Jim, but it also felt like they had their hand forced when they did the switch last year, and it wasn't by design. They did it when they thought they needed to. This year, as Montgomery said, they're going to do it. Regardless, if somebody gets a win, then it doesn't really matter. It's time for the other guy to go.
Yeah, and if what happens over the next month before the playoffs start, or actually before the trade deadline, if they're really struggling and they think they need to move Allmark, I think they will. I don't think they want to because both these guys give them a chance to win every single night. But if they're getting to the point where they're not scoring any goals or their defense is absolutely killing them and they need to move a guy, then I think Allmark does get moved. But I don't think they want to, but I think they will if they have to.
Right. It just sucks that there's the history of that is just you don't get any return. on goaltenders. It's always and we went through the exercise before, and it's just like they're just not valued. It seems in the trade market. So it
might be a move. It might be a move just to kind of get rid of that $5 million salary rather than
Right. It would be a shame though to give up a Vezina guy to just clear cap space, but. Maybe they'll have to if they want to make other improvements.
By the way, the goalie Bob piece is really good, Jim, just because if goalie Bob is one of those names that's like, I know who he is, I know what he does, but I really don't know anything about it. And then I read your thing. I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it a little bit more. I know him as more than just a name and what he did. Now I understand it more. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And I think it was fitting that Bonus gave him the name because he's kind of hilarious as well.
Yeah.
There you go. Jim McBride covers the Bruins for the Globe. Thank you, as always, sir, for your service and time.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we appreciate it.
See you, Jim.
The listeners are coming through with good emails. So there's actually a point to the email segment today. Because it's also going to lead me into a bit of hold on to your hats, folks.
You're going to rant, Fred.
I am going to get into a little thing. I'm just setting it up that this certain there ain't just one curmudgeon on this station.
I think we should tease an epic Fred rant coming up.
I'm going to lose my S, ladies and gentlemen, just letting you know. And then when I get hot, it don't stop until I leave the building. So get ready for a very exciting post-show meeting, too, because I'm all wrapped up about the whole thing. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Lainey Wilson is on a roll. She's delivering great music and teaming up with some of country's hottest acts. Text Lainey to 45911 to see which 4 Lainey Wilson collabs have us talking at BackstageCountry.com. Text Lainey to 45911 to get a link to the list sent right to your phone from BackstageCountry.com.
It's called Rising and Grinding.
Start your
Got
day.
your finger on the pulse, Fred.
Begin your
Seldom
day
right and never wrong.
Right here. Is that Dutcher or is that Hardy?
I know, looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
I got an idea for a bit. The email bit. We should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
All right, we are Dutcher and Hardy. This is always the commercial break. Hardy's late to the studio. What is it about this break, this specific commercial break that you go? There's some OCD thing happening.
I got stuck talking to engineer Deb. Not stuck, but we were talking about technical things.
Sorry, Deb. I mean, I guess it's just a hassle for him to speak to you. I for one, enjoy your company. This is an email from Joe. He said, based on Hardy's taste for flat-chested women, this is going somewhere, so don't worry. Hardy's taste of flat-chested women, I'm guessing Heidi Gardner is his favorite current SNL cast member.
Let me look up Heidi Gardner. I don't know.
All right, I'll let you do that.
No.
Nah, it doesn't do it for you. Did you catch Shane Gillis on SNL, this week's SNL? He was legit funny, but the PC tone of the show and crowd made it seem so awkward. It was kind of like Dice's Day, the laughter died. No one gets to be funny anymore. All right, so I like Shane Gillis, and I think he's funny. He was in studio. I wish I could redo it, because when he was in studio years ago, I didn't really know who he was. I just know he'd gotten kicked off of Saturday Night Live, and I don't think I did the interview well enough to allow him to be as funny as he is. If you don't know, he was signed to SNL, and it was 5 years ago, and it was during that time. It was like a very peculiar time, because whenever anyone got any high-profile job, the media would like scour the internet for anything that they had done, and Shane Gillis was accused of saying anti-Asian and homophobic stuff. I don't know. Do you consider it anti-Asian, or I don't know how it's put.
Yeah, I don't know either. And I wanted to. Once I heard he was coming back on Saturday Night Live, I was reading about it, and somebody had posted links to what they thought had triggered everybody. And I listened to one of them, And I'm like, well, it's pretty much it's basic comedian stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything that I thought warranted like changing their minds about hiring him.
All right, so I go to the AV Club a lot. It's like an incredibly like progressive website, but they cover entertainment, and I don't know how many other places do it. But I just want to read to you how this reads. So this is how this reads. Saturday Night Live recap, Shane Gillis stumbles back into Studio 8H. The fired former cast member relies more on bro humor than button pushing in an uneven episode. So right now they're doing this. Saturday Night Live has never been above a ratings ploy. The powers that be, Lauren Michaels. Yeah, Lauren Michaels runs Saturday Night Live. Like, we didn't know that? Have routinely tapped controversial figures to host a sketch comedy show over the years. From polarizing POTUS Donald Trump to tech douche Elon Musk, and sometimes like to sprinkle in a nonsensical Dave Chappelle cameo for no reason. So, okay, Dave Chappelle's not supposed to be on Saturday Night Live anymore. By the way, he just came out during the ending credits. So Dave Chappelle's not. So Dave Chappelle, he's not allowed on a comedy show anyway. So it wasn't all that surprising. Studio 8H would welcome back Shane Gillis, the former SNL cast member who a mere 4 days into his show tenure was fired back in 2019 after some instances of using anti-Asian homophobic language were resurfaced online. Ironically, Gillis would have joined the show the very same season as Bowen Yang, the show's first Chinese-American cast member, who has not been shy about his displeasure over some casting choices this season. He didn't like the Nikki Haley thing. Bowen Yang's the funniest cast member on the show right now. But by the way, he had no problem apparently with Shane Gillis because he didn't say anything. So you're inferring Bowen Yang didn't like him, but he didn't say anything. But I know he didn't. I know he didn't like him. I hate that. I know he didn't like that. Well, he didn't say it, and he said it about other people. Yeah. So how do you know he doesn't like Shane Gillis? You just assume he's on your team on this? Don't put someone else on your team unless they said you're on your team. Despite Gillis' firing, the 36-year-old comic has had a very successful 5 years since the scandal. Yes, the reason Saturday Night Live had him on is because now he's better off not being on Saturday Night Live. The only cast member on Saturday Night Live currently with a chance to be a star is Bowen Yang. No one else on that show. And it used to be, you got on Saturday Night Live, there were 7 people on the cast, and 5 of you were going to become at least moderate movie stars. Now there's 25 people on the cast, and there's a good chance no one's going to become a star. The last star off that show was Pete Davidson, and he ain't a star because of what he did on Saturday Night Live. He's a star because he was banging famous ladies. Despite Gillis' firing, the 36-year-old stand-up has had a very successful 5 years since the scandal with Netflix specials, New Yorker profiles, and the whole ass hosting gig of Saturday Night Live. While news of his casting no doubt prompted curious viewers to tune into his cancel culture victory lap. Oh, Jesus, get the hell out of here. His choppy comeback episode was less flagrant and more forgettable. And then it goes into the cold open. But then it talks, so I didn't watch anything but his monologue. Okay, his monologue, go watch it yourself. I don't feel like replaying it. It's fun. It's good. He's a stand-up comic. He's comfortable. It's a solid monologue. It's a monologue, right?
It is what a stand-up comedian does when they host SNL.
He grabs, they hand him a handheld mic, and he does his stand-up act.
Yeah.
Okay, go watch it and judge it for yourself. Remember Joe Coy's catastrophic opening monologue at the Golden Globes last month? I even heard Norton talking about it. It was bad. It was bad. He did bad. But it was like he tanked. He died. It's happened to every comedian. He unfortunately happened at the Golden Globes. Shane Gillis gave him some serious competition here. That's patently false. That's completely false. That's not even in the room. You don't like Shane Gillis. You probably don't know anything about him. You're on this team that he's this horrible Nazi, and that they let this crazy Nazi with all these crazy views on things run up there and spread his doctrine. He didn't bomb at all. Not even close to bombing. You might not think he was funny, but there's the difference
it's hard
between a destructive live performance and a comedian that you don't find funny.
And I would say in that room, in that setting, it's really hard to bomb an SNL opening monologue. Now, Golden Globes, I'd say it's hard to kill at that thing because everybody's eating and drinking and they're drunk.
No, he bombed. He bombed.
But
it was bad.
But
and
you have to be like really good.
No.
You have to be Ricky Gervais, like people are glued
Yes, you have
what
to be
you're saying.
John Mulaney, who kills at those things. Yes,
Yeah.
you have to be a funny comic, and he's not as funny enough to pull it off. He just bombed.
But to say that-
every comedy, but he didn't bomb. Here's this thing. And then he goes into the audience, and he goes, but the majority of the punchlines, so I read this before I watched the monologue.
Okay.
Because this is how I consumed the monologue. It said, but the majority of the punchlines notably didn't land with an uneasy audience, including a stone-faced band behind him. So I read that beforehand. I defy you to watch that and think the band is behaving in any other. First of all, you can't see them. And second of all,
blurry.
No, they're in the dark.
Yes.
They're in the dark. That guy or whoever, woman, man, that wrote this article completely invented that. In their mind, and drives me crazy, in their mind, like Gillis is just an unrepentant, no gray area, just piece of human trash. And not only that, but in their mind, the band hates him. Like this guy's inferring the Saturday Night Live band hates him because they must, because everyone who I don't deem to be this cathartic, this repellent cave dweller must hate him. And I like the Saturday Night Live band, so they hate him too. It's the most immature, narcissistic, crazy way of thinking, and it drives me crazy. There's no nuance or gray area. We're team anti-Gillis. Like, what if they met him and he was like the greatest guy ever? What if they hated him, then they met him, and he was such a nice guy when they actually talked to him, they liked him. They got over what he said. And he goes, oh, yeah, I said some stuff. What if he goes like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry I said those things. Like, But so far the guys inferred Bo and Yang didn't like him because they like Bo and Yang and they don't like Shane Gillis. So obviously Bo and Yang doesn't like Shane Gillis. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
And the band doesn't like him. He infers the band doesn't like him. You piece of garbage. Like, God, I hate this mentality. I hate it. That, like, we're all on, there's no free thinking. There's no way that like, people do. We're so trapped in our own minds now. It's really ridiculous. Like, that we are so right. And I do it too. But I'm also getting paid to be on the radio and have an opinion about things. But in real life, this idea that I don't like this person, so everyone I like must not like him too, even if I've never met either of the parties involved. And we're all on this one great, true team, and everyone else is just awful.
And you'd be much more receptive to this person's viewpoint had they written just honestly and said, like, his monologue went over fine, and there were some uneasy moments, but there was nothing out of the ordinary about, this comedian's opening monologue, and just list all the reasons why you don't like him, other people, but instead, like, spinning it to how it's somehow he bombed and the band didn't like him and the live studio audience didn't like him. All false.
He goes, look, and it says, quote, look, I didn't have any material that can be on TV. I don't have any material that can be on TV. All right. I'm trying to my best. Also, this place is extremely well lit. I see everyone not enjoying themselves. Big yikes. They write after that. It's an endearing thing. I found it endearing.
It's like a Peter King self-deprecating thing.
Well, I mean, it's not going so far as to saying that he whiffed on a fantasy football pick 21 years ago.
Is that the one in Red Wing?
That's the one in Red Wing.
Which was a very, very interesting audience.
Red Wing, Minnesota.
Yeah,
you want to talk about a fetish.
I mean, that is gross. Jesse, go ahead, Jesse.
Hey, guys. Hey, Hardy, love you on the show. Years ago, I saw Shane Gillis in Worcester. He did a really small show. He was hilarious. It was actually a fundraiser for recovery. We were raising money for a sober house. And when he found out we were raising money for a sober house, he gave all the money back that he made that night toward the sober house.
Oh.
So I'm a Shane Gillis fan. I watched it. I thought he did great. And
well, he certainly didn't bomb. I mean, you can find him not funny. I mean, I don't find Jeff Dunham funny, like the guy with the puppet, but I don't go around going like you're all like in real life, not radio. Like oh, you're all so dumb. And, like, I'm so right and you're all so wrong. Like that. Like, I hate that. and it's not critiquing music or art because he's not doing that. He's saying as a person, and then he's saying everyone else as people must hate him too. Like, you understand what there's just, you can't, it's such a narcissistic, awful way of thinking, and it dominates discourse now. It's just, think for a second, like, maybe, like, it's like with religion, like, just people, like, just, because I guarantee if you ask this guy, like, well, what do you think about, like people, like, what religion are you? And they go, like, whatever, I'm this religion. And you go, well, what do you think about this other religion? They'd be like, oh, well, it's great. But no, but that's not how you feel about, like, other things.
Yeah.
Your brain, you just have decided that you know everything, that you are so right, and that we're all on this team of your beliefs, or we're against you. And that is just, but you would call yourself progressive if anyone asked you about your politics, but you're not progressive. Because if anyone disagrees with your politics, they're automatically this, even if it's like a subtle thing, like they're people that shouldn't exist on this planet. You write things like, by the way, Donald Trump's controversial figure, he was the president of the United States. Like, he's controversial to you, but he just beat Nikki Haley in her home state. Like, I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I understand that my father did. Like, get the hell out of here. Ay, ay, ay. Like, oh, Saturday Night Live is so terrible. They had Elon Musk on. I'm not even positive why we're supposed to not like him. But I know, like, Team Progressive hates Elon Musk. I don't know why, but apparently he's the worst. Well, he has X. Okay. Like, well, I don't even know, but maybe there's a million things he did. But short of, like, horrible, like, discourse of sharing, like, Nazi ideals and stuff, I can't imagine it's, I mean, he's still a billionaire. I don't know. It drives me crazy.
What about Starlink? What are your thoughts on that?
His space thing?
I don't know. That's satellites. I think that's him. Is that Elon Musk or is that someone else, Dan?
He's
Starlink?
Elon Musk. Is he the guy who fires the penis-shaped rocket into the beginning of outer space?
Yeah, but my only problem with that is you're not even in space.
That's Bezos, sorry.
That's Bezos, and you're not even in space with that thing.
It's the best Disney ride ever. Only you have to pay $1 million to get on board.
So anyway, I mean, I could see you going, like, Shane Gillis said some dumb stuff. Like, I don't think he's, and I could certainly see you going, Shane Gillis isn't funny. But then now, like oh, the band.
Like, I can't stand Gabriel Iglesias whenever I hear him, like, doing stand-up. But to say that he bombs, no, he kills. His audience loves him, thinks he's the funniest thing ever. I think it's unlistenable and unwatchable. But I'm not going to lie and say that, you know, he bombs. That guy, I don't think that guy has ever bombed.
Right.
People love him. All right.
Like, Christian bands suck. But, I mean, there's audiences that like the Christian band.
Yeah. Some people say that Black Betty sucks, but, you know, whenever it gets played, man, it brings the house down.
I'll tell you, that guy who called in, though, made me like Black Betty. He really did.
Because it rules. It's awesome.
It was the perfect.
Kicks ass.
He said kicks ass. That was all he had to say. The guy just called and goes, come on, man, Black Betty rules. And I go, why? He goes, it kicks ass. Right. And then I was just like, you're like all my friends' older brother. You're at all my friends' older brothers. So I like Black Betty now. See, I'm willing to change.
Look at you.
And if I'm willing to change, you can change.
Everyone can change.
I didn't yell at the caller and say he liked Black Betty. I thought he was cool. He just wanted rules. And you know he was like smoking like beet weed and like driving a Camaro.
I want you to turn this to your ringtone.
Oh, Black Betty, bam-a-lam. Oh, Black Betty, bam-a-lam. Looky on a Black Betty, bam-a-lam. Looky on a Black Betty, bam-a-lam.
All right, so
Hello?
we'll be back in. Hello.
Who is this?
Who is this? You know I love old blues. It's my identity. I'm wearing a Crossroads-esque fedora right now.
Bam-a-lam. Oh, Black
I'm a white guy in a suit jacket and a fedora.
Bam-a-lam.
All right, we will return.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Country music has so many generous artists who always seem to jump in to help those in need. We're spotlighting 5 who lead by example and lend a helping hand to charitable causes. See who made our list when you text GIVE to 45911. Text GIVE to 45911 and read all about it right now on BackstageCountry.com.
Zolak and Bertrand get you through the workday at 10. Right now, it's Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub. We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show?
Ready.
It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
All right, I sort of just did the stack.
There's one thing, Fred, that I think you're a little reluctant to talk about, but I want to bring it up just so I can read one tweet.
I'm not reluctant to bring up anything. Is it about my goiter?
No, it is not about your gout. It is not about your goiter.
Is it about when I had the foot problems that kept me out? That turned out to be gout.
That's the gout. That's
yeah.
what I just.
Is it about my throat that I so selfishly left to work for the 5 weeks with?
No, but this is I would say sports adjacent, and it is definitely media and social media involved. It has to do with something I was receiving alerts for from the Boston Globe over the weekend. An online feud involving a North End restaurant owner and a certain...
I'm staying out of this. You were right. You know what, Hardy? You were not lying. You found it. You go ahead.
A certain New Yorker who canceled a reservation, and they had an exchange online. The person's name is Jen Royal, who is the owner of Table in the North End, and this began when a gentleman named Trevor Chauvin DeCaro shared a series of screenshots on his Twitter account that detailed an exchange between him and Jen Royal, the owner of Table. Now, Jen Royal had been in the sports media business. I believe had been on EEI, had been on like Boston Herald radio, was maybe an Orioles that like beat reporter or like what do you call the sideline reporter for baseball?
The sideline reporter for baseball.
Okay, Wallach, don't get flip. Don't be glib.
You This
is a very serious thing going on here.
Sorry.
Apparently,
someone didn't have their seed.
Trevor Chauvin DeCaro had canceled a reservation, and
for him and his husband.
He was coming up to Boston to go to the Madonna show. He said that
right now I call into question that a guy and his husband would be going to the Madonna show.
I know. Right. It's like something's fishy already. But through a series of circumstances, a delayed Amtrak train, he said he was hospitalized at one point because he wasn't feeling well. They canceled the reservation, and per Jen Royal's restaurant's policy, he was charged a $250 cancellation fee. It's a very small restaurant, and then he used his travel insurance and did a credit card dispute to get the charges wiped off, and started getting direct messages from Jen Royal saying that you screwed my staff out of money for that night. Hope you're happy. Back, and there was a lot of back and forth between these two. A lot of people are siding with the guy from New York, saying that's an exorbitant fee, and a 72-hour cancellation policy is a bit much. I say the only reason why I wanted to bring it up, Fred, is because in one of the initial tweets, and this is pretty good, someone alluded to, here it is. Jen Royal is hands down the worst person in the North End restaurant scene, which is impressive when you consider the owner of Monica's literally tried to kill a dude last year on a bicycle.
They're saying the man that did the wild shooting, not a good shot.
I know. Standing right next to the guy.
No, he couldn't hit that guy. And I'm wondering if he really even intended on hitting the guy. He's pretty all over the place with that weapon. You can tell he hasn't been to the shooting range.
insert allegedly into all of these things.
Sure.
Whether we're talking
There's a
about
video of the shooting. I've seen it myself on TV.
But I know it's like some people at this station are friendly with Jen Royal. I know who she is. I think I met her once. But this is, I would say, par for the course for Jen, where she goes online and goes after people. It's what she does. So I don't know.
Well, there's two things is that I've learned. One is that having worked in the service industry for 10, 15 years, what she said in her tweets is what everyone is saying about you every time. Not you, Hardy, or you, John, or me, Fred. Us as a collective as diners. The kitchen is no fan of yours while you're eating at any restaurant. So what she said, I'll say three things about it. What she said is just what we hated every customer. Number two is I must not be dining at nice restaurants because I've never in my life heard of a $250 cancellation.
That's wild.
Let alone 72 hours. So this table must be something else. And number three, this Jen Royal is a firecracker. I don't need her getting mad at me.
But this is the cautionary tale part of this. If you do so much online, if you post everything, if you're living online, you're commenting online, and you're engaging with the people back and forth, eventually, and I'm surprised it took this long, you're going to run into somebody who is more online savvy than you are. And I don't think it's this guy necessarily, but people supporting him started posting fake Yelp reviews of the restaurant. For a time, if you went on Google to look up table restaurant in the North End, it said permanently closed. Like, people have access to things online, and if you're going to make your living getting in fights with people online, other people are going to insert themselves into this fight just to pick a side, and then mess with you, and they are way better at it than you are. Careful.
That's a great point. I will say this about Yelp. Do you know anyone who's ever left a Yelp review?
No, I do not.
Okay, so when you go to Yelp in defense of the restaurant industry, you're listening to psychopathic douchebags. I mean, you are really listening to the real scum of society, like someone who would take the time, because no one's going to write about a great experience. Like, no one online takes the time. Like, think about when you want to say something about a business, it's when you're furious at them. When you go into a hotel room and there's like someone in the bed. Right. When you go to a restaurant and they say you have a table, you have a reservation, but they make you wait for an hour and a half. When your plane gets canceled, these are the times where you want to lash out. It's never like it was perfectly fine. Like, I would imagine most people's dining experiences are adequate to pretty good. But you're never going to go online and go like, this was like, I enjoyed myself.
Yeah,
like it was pretty good.
I'll give it 3 stars out of 5. It was okay.
No, I'll give it 4 out of 5, right? Like, it's like not the best. Like, 5's the best, but it was like real. It was like you have no motivation to do that. The only time you're motivated to put anything online, I mean, go to your @ mentions on Twitter. I'm sure they're a delight. I'm sure they're all, that was great. There's no reason to do it except for when you hate something someone said or did, or you hate the person. That's when people put stuff online. And so don't go do everyone a favor and don't listen to Yelp.
Also, quickly, so we still have time for the crossover. The SAG Awards were over the weekend, and just get ready because Oppenheimer's going to win everything. And I tried to go to the movies on Sunday, by the way. I wanted to take my son to the movies. There was literally not one movie that either one of us wanted to see.
Yeah,
I saw any theater anywhere.
I've seen American Fiction twice because I saw it once with an adult, and then once I took my daughter because I had nothing else to do.
We're in a bad stretch for movies, but it's Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and what's that other one that we both saw? The Holdovers.
The Holdovers.
That's it.
A lot of it shot right here in Waltham. The Holdovers. All right, we'll do the crossover in a minute.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Lainey Wilson is on a roll. She's delivering great music and teaming up with some of country's hottest acts. Text Lainey to 45911 to see which 4 Lainey Wilson collabs have us talking at BackstageCountry.com. Text Lainey to 45911 to get a link to the list sent right to your phone from BackstageCountry.com.
Dutcher and Hardy, the reviews are in.
I got to stay on talk about you. Give me about 5 minutes of my time.
What he said. Now more of on the Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. Look who's here. Joseph Murray, king of the nighttime world.
Look at you.
Good morning.
Hey, Joey Murray, king of the nighttime world. I love it. What's the music you play in the background of the segment that you do? In or out? What is that? What is that bet?
You won't like this.
I do like it. I like the bet a lot, though.
When I tell you that
it's going to be Incubus.
Yes.
But it's a loop of, like, if that was in a hip hop song, that would be like a great, like, it's almost like you've sampled a part of an Incubus song that I actually enjoy.
Yeah, that's called "Are You In" by Incubus.
Okay, which is how you came about it, obviously.
Yes, the Jeremy Conley came up with that, but Musings is definitely "Today Was a Good Day" by Ice Cube.
Yes, which we all know the lyrics to by heart for some reason. For some reason, that song, even if you just heard it 2 times, like, you remember. Did you see that people have tried to pinpoint the day he's talking about? Like, where all these confluence events, like the Lakers beat the Supersonics and all this other stuff happened. They try to find the particular day. He didn't have to use the AK at all because Ice Cube has killed 0 people in his life. So I guess every day was a good day. He went to, like, college in Arizona.
He's smart.
Yeah, but but I don't understand, like, him and Dre, no one in NWA except for Eazy-E, I think, killed anyone. Eazy very possibly could have.
Maybe. But Ice Cube was the type of guy who would, keep stats when he was playing pickup playground ball.
Yeah.
Messed around and got a triple-double. Really? You kept track of your rebounds that day?
I guess you're listening to it on the lame version because when I listen to it, he says the F word.
But we can't say that, Fred.
But he say effed around. That's how I keep it edgy.
I always liked how it's ironic. He had the booze and she had the chronic while the Lakers beat the Supersonics.
So while she was pleasuring him, he was watching basketball. It was while smoking weed and drinking liquor.
Correct.
Which can be a bad combination for the stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Take too big a bong rip with that belly full of beer. That can lead to nausea. I'm just warning you. Some people, it solves their problems. All right, Joe. Who else is in today?
I saw Zoe and I saw Beetle.
No clue. I think it's Zoe and Beetle.
Are they already protesting this crossover? Do they even know you're here?
No.
Well, Joe, I'm glad that you were in.
Well, guys, I'm going to be with you guys in the morning someday. I think when you're out.
All right. Well, I'm out all next week.
There you
So
go.
plan accordingly.
If that's okay.
And then you guys are going to get, it's so much better without Fred.
Yes.
And it's going to make me feel bad. And then it's going to make me feel bad. Why this need to make me feel bad? Why do you all...
You'll still be able to come back and work and do the show. Just ignore the fact that the show will be better when you're gone. Don't think about that.
Well, that's a headspace that I've been working with my my mentor to get over.
Okay.
He's taught me many mantras. You are enough. You are enough. You are enough. Oh, one of the players is in now. All right.
Hey, there they are.
We're leaving it with no commercials, just a pre-recorded Wallach headlines that he pre-records for no reason. He could easily just do it live, but he's got to pre-record them to be a pain in the ass. All right, that'll do it for us. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.